using the laptop camera,
Yeah.
I can, and I'm sure I've talked about it. Just swing it a little closer in front of you.
Okay.
Just yeah, move, swing there, perfect, and then you can do that. Yep, right in front of you, perfect.
Okay.
Because with this, this was the software. Because Kristen started her podcast on her 30th birthday, and I helped her with all the technical stuff, and she used a lot of my equipment to record the first few until she bought her own. But her brother Mikey, um, turned us on to this software. She has since moved on to something else. But I keep using it because it's an open source software. It's like you can get it for free, and it's
Yeah,
just ready
right.
to go. It's plug and play, and you can like using USB. You could tether your phone and use the video camera on your phone if you want to set it on a tripod,
Oh, okay.
and it'll use that video instead of your laptop. But I'm more about the content. I
Yeah.
just care about the audio. Um, but it is funny because I've recorded like in Kristen's living room, and I noticed it happens here. Whenever it's looking at like an open window in the
Yeah.
daytime, the light, it almost washes everything out.
Oh.
Which is fine because I don't care about the
Yeah.
visual so much. I think it's just interesting.
Actually, I don't think don't look like
No,
it's
it's
watching.
not bad, but it's
Yeah.
definitely not HD.
Yeah.
is what
Okay.
I meant.
Yeah. But yeah.
Um,
Well,
but it works.
what difference does it make for what you're doing?
Exactly.
know?
I'm more care about the content and and getting the conversations documented. I have to do this. If you've I think you've listened to two of them, so you might remember this. I always have to give a shout out to Tom Brady, Kenny Chesney, and No Shoes Nation. A running joke because every time I would do it on Kristen's podcast, she would edit it out.
Oh. Okay.
So now it's a joke. I do it every time. So
Right.
all hail Kenny Chesney and Tom Brady. But yes, my Uncle Oscar just turned a spry 50. You finally hit 50 years old yesterday, right?
Yeah. Okay.
We'll go
I'll
with
take,
50.
I'll take
Let's
50.
just go with that.
Yeah. Sure.
So we had a little time at the place before the rest of the family got down here. And I kind of, we started talking about when I mentioned that I had got to record with my dad. So, yeah, let's just get into, because and I know I've talked with Mom about this over the years, but of course, I just details I'm so bad about remembering. You were I can't, and I talked to Dad about this, but I don't remember exactly what he said. You and my mom and your parents, Ada and
Frank.
Frank. Thank you. Were you and Mom born in Eureka or in Indiana, and they moved out there?
I was born in Eureka.
Mom was in Indiana.
No. Your mom was born in Lodi, California.
That's right. Dad did know that. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
That was something
Yeah.
else I noticed about talking with Dad.
No, the way that worked was Dad got out of the service,
Mm-hmm.
went back to Indianapolis. I think he went back to work for Indianapolis Power and Light. And he started dating Mom.
He
Started
met
dating
her.
Mother.
Did he know her before he went in the military?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so. He met her there, and then he got a job for Pacific Gas and Electric and moved out to California.
So that was his first job out of the military.
That Indianapolis Power and Light was.
But then he was in that industry.
Yeah,
that was
he was a lineman there.
And then he
was
got
a lineman for
and then he
PG&E in California.
okay.
So he moved to California,
Was it just
and Mother was pregnant, so she moved out.
was it just
and
a
they
better
got
job
married.
offer?
Huh?
A better job offer?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
But she was already pregnant with Mom.
Virginia, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then so that would have been 40. Mom was born in 47.
Right.
So they moved out there in late 46 or something around there.
I think it would have been early 47 before
Okay.
Mother came out.
Okay.
No, Daddy would have moved out in 46 probably.
And went to Lodi. That was the first place he moved out to, Lodi, California.
That's where she was born.
Okay.
I don't know for sure where.
Okay.
He was working for PG&E, and basically he was working on your transmission lines going through the country.
the literal power lines.
Yeah.
Like maintenance,
Yeah,
repairs.
the major transmission lines
Yeah,
like
yeah,
coming
yeah.
out of Bonneville.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was
Those
his
type of
job, was to
things.
go out and obviously if something's damaged but a lot of maintenance, and you probably have to inspect
Maintenance,
them.
building new ones. I don't know what
Okay,
all.
okay.
That was in the 40s. They could have been building new ones.
Actually, you're right. They probably were.
So I don't really know. I know that's what he was working on because I've talked to him a few times about what he was doing,
Okay.
and he remembered writing a little zip line type thing in between power line towers.
That's how they got from
Yeah,
one to the other.
sometimes.
It was a literal zip line.
Sometimes he was out climbing poles, and he'd talk about it was a real pain trying to climb a pole in the winter when it was raining, because if it was raining like that, he couldn't step on the pole and climb it. You had to run and jump. You couldn't be touching the ground and the pole at the same time because it'd fry you.
And I mean, we are talking about the 40s, but I was like, that was their idea of
Well, when it was
safety.
raining that hard, you had that much bleed over from the major
But
power
I mean,
lines
and
coming
that,
down the pole
and
into
that
the
was the
ground.
solution for safety protocols, was to, well, you just have to jump this time.
Well, that's how they did it.
That's how I know.
That's just how they
I
did
just
it.
think it's a different time. I know. I just think it's
So
funny.
that sometimes if it wasn't raining too bad, that they could spread a raincoat or something out on the ground below
Oh,
the
so
pole.
I see what you're saying. If it's not raining, the lines
Oh,
and
it's fine, yeah.
and the power pole is
It's an insulator.
the coating of
It's no
water,
problem.
but the coating
The
of
coating of
water
water
will
will-
transmit the
Yeah,
electricity.
it will take basically have the static electricity
Okay.
and run it down the pole.
Oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that.
So
So
it probably wouldn't really fry you, but it'd give you a hell of a jolt.
Would it be worse than like when I was young and we had the property on Blundell Road?
I'm sure it'd be worse than the
than the
fence.
electric fence.
Yeah.
Worse than that.
Yeah, but
okay.
it'd be similar to that.
Okay.
But it'd probably have a little more juice in it.
Oh my God.
So
So is that, you might not even know, is that still an issue today? We're like, well, if this power line out here, if you went, well, it's wood. I guess if it's not wood,
well, that was wood too, but
if it's raining, can you not go touch this power pole, or
sure
they
you
must
can.
have they must have
sure
fixed
you
it?
can. But then you're not talking the same amount of power.
Oh.
We're talking major transmission lines
Okay.
going through the country,
Okay.
which means, I mean, these power lines here, even your bigger ones up taller above from where, not the ones that come to the house.
Right.
12,000 volts is probably the biggest you have running around town.
Okay.
Theirs would be 100,000 volts. Or
Oh,
something,
because those were the lines that were literally sending the electricity supply to other power stations,
Right,
to
yeah.
be dispersed among
Yeah,
a city.
yeah, your major
Oh.
transmission lines, like
Okay.
coming out of Bonneville and stuff.
Okay,
You
that
know,
makes
major
sense.
transmission lines.
Wow.
So then you'd have that kind of. I would imagine insulation's better now than it was then.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely. Because now you probably have, I mean, is there gear, gloves, boots, whatever coats that you can put on and it'll protect you? I'm guessing, maybe?
They use hot sticks for everything, I think, mostly, and then they do have special gloves,
Okay.
but they use those for around here
Oh my gosh.
for that kind of stuff. I don't know what all they'd use.
Okay, so he goes out there for the job. Grandma, eventually moves out, and Mom's born in Lodi, and then at some point they move to Eureka.
Right? Yeah.
And then you were born there, 49, just two
Yeah.
2 years behind
Right.
Mom. So he was still working for PG&E at that point.
Yeah, but not much longer. He got hurt, and he wasn't able to climb anymore.
Okay.
And so apparently he was offered a job to stay on the ground crew,
Okay.
but it was a much lower rate of pay.
Yeah.
And consequently, he quit PG&E and went to work in the woods,
As a
fallen timber.
Oh, okay. Okay. Which I mean, back then you probably make decent money doing that.
That was the most high-paying job around.
Yeah. Did he? And he had to kind of learn as he was going, or did he already have experience with that?
No, he had to pretty much learn as he was going.
And obviously, if you get up to the Eureka area, you're right there in the redwoods. Kind of. There's plenty of timber jobs.
At that time, there was.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the late 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was. all the way up until what? Mm, they started going away in the 60s.
Okay. And then your older siblings, how many did you have? Like I lose count.
Okay, there was 10 of us altogether.
And but so the next closest to you and mom, were they already like kind of adults, or how close in age were they?
No,
Yeah, I guess how many kids were still in the house?
when we moved into that house on F Street in Eureka,
Yeah.
there was me, Virginia, Carl, Opal, Ray, and Bob
Okay.
was all there.
So
Ray and Bob
Five
didn't
kids.
stick.
5 kids in the house plus mom and dad.
No, 6.
Oh, 6. Okay, I missed. Yeah, I
It was
missed one
me,
there.
Virginia,
Opal.
Opal, Carl, Ray, and Bob.
Okay, all 6.
Uh, Bob wasn't there that long before he went in the Air Force.
Okay. And what was you said Frank got out of the military? What branch was he in?
He was drafted in the Army.
Okay. Okay. For World War II?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he pretty much went through the whole thing.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Uh,
Did he end up in the Pacific or over in Europe?
he was in Europe.
Okay. Wow. So he probably saw some stuff.
You know, he didn't talk about it that much. I got him to talk about it a little bit from time to time.
And most of
But,
them didn't talk about it.
But he was in the Signal Corps, which, well, like you said, most of the time you couldn't tell where the front lines were.
Yeah.
But basically, he should have been behind the front lines
Okay.
because he was just running mostly telephone wires between headquarters and forward units or whatever.
Oh, so
running
he
telephone lines.
he started learning this lineman work in the military.
No, he was working for Indianapolis Power and Light as a lineman when he was drafted.
Okay. But did they kind of did he already had some knowledge, so that's
well,
why
yeah,
they,
he was a full-fledged lineman
So
when he
he-
was drafted.
yeah, so they put him in that
so he
because
put him in the Signal Corps.
Okay, that makes sense because
Yeah.
he knows.
Yeah.
He knows that stuff.
He already knew what he was doing with that. You know,
Gosh, was he in for 4 years, 5 years? How long?
it was either I can't remember May or June of '42
Okay,
when he was drafted, and it was.
so 3.5.
I think it was sometime after VJ Victory in Japan Day before he ever got out.
so. 3.5 at least, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was one of the last of anybody that served in the war to come. His group was the last ones pretty much
Okay.
to come out of Europe.
So then you said you're the oldest. The oldest that was in the house in Eureka was Bob,
Yeah.
and then but he was he was almost done with high school or whatever, and then enlisted in the Air Force.
Yeah, he went in the Air Force from there. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how old he was then. I really don't know.
Yeah,
I can just vaguely remember him and Ray being there. That's about it.
Okay. Because back then you could, I've heard you could enlist before you were 18, right? If you wanted to, or did you still have to kind of fake it?
I don't know how soon you can enlist. You can enlist at 17 when I joined.
Okay.
They had kiddie cruisers, but 17 was the earliest you can enlist. at.
Okay. So Bob went Air Force. Who was the next youngest? Ray. Did he do military or no? Okay.
No, but he wasn't around there that much longer. Now, he was still going to high school when he was there
Okay.
because I can remember Carl talking about Ray was always getting into fights with people in high school.
Really?
Yeah. Carl kept saying there's something about, your brother beat up my brother or something, so it was time for Carl and them to go at it. And Carl, he'd rather fight and do anything anyhow. He was that way, no doubt about that.
And Carl was the next one older than Mom, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Okay. And then
Then
it was
Opal.
Ray, then it was Bob.
No, Carl, then Opal.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Opal. If you ever see this,
Yeah.
I forgot about Opal.
Yeah.
So Carl, Opal, Ray, Bob.
Right.
Okay. So and Opal is how much older than mom or you guys even?
She's the same age as your dad.
So 6. They're 6
yeah.
years apart. So she was born in 41.
I
That's at least when
yeah,
Dad
probably,
was. Yeah.
yeah.
So okay.
yeah.
So she was still in school.
She's what, 81 now, I think.
So she was still in school.
Yeah.
Ray was still in school. And then obviously
and Carl was.
and Carl. Okay, and you
then
guys.
me and, well, I wasn't in school
You
at
weren't-
that
you-
point.
yeah,
I
you were
was
still-
too young to be in
Oh,
school.
so that's right. So by the time at the years we're talking about, you weren't necessarily old enough to even have a lot of memories.
Not a whole lot, no. Not
Okay.
not those first 2 or 3 years there. Yeah. I can. That house though in Myrtle, out by Myrtle Avenue that they built, I just got 1 or 2 vague memories of, and then they moved to the one in F Street.
And that's the one. That's the one that we moved her out of when we went down there.
No, that was F Street.
That's what I mean. F Street. That's the
Yeah.
one that when Wes was out here and him and Pamela went down, they made that
Yeah,
trip. They
right,
took
yeah.
photos. That's
Yeah,
the
that's the one on F Street. Yeah.
got it. And
Yeah.
they stayed there until a 74, I guess, when they moved up here. Is that right?
Well, that's when Mother did. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember I'm sure I've told you the story. That is that's the youngest memory I have as a human being. I must have been 2 or 2.5 years old, but it was when I threw the paint
Yeah.
can into the fireplace.
yeah.
That's I have that literally burned into my memory.
Mhm.
No pun intended.
Yeah, because she still basically almost an infant when
Yeah,
you
I
was at
couldn't have been.
Vancouver.
I must have been about 2
And-
years old. So
Yeah, and then Virginia had only been on Blundell Road for about a year or so when I moved back from Colorado and ended up there.
yeah. So you enlisted right out of school.
Yeah, out of high school.
And how many years were you in the Navy?
Almost 4.
Oh, geez. So what year did you graduate high school?
67.
Oh shit! So you enlisted. You weren't drafted.
Yeah, I
But
enlisted.
Vietnam was going on.
Right, yeah.
Oh wow! And you ended up over there, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, I did my last year over there.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh! I'm just and me. I've talked about this with Mom before, but yeah. Oh my gosh! 6 years in. Did you kind of get out when the war was over?
No, I got out as soon as my hitch was up.
Oh, but I just meant, did it just line up that way that it
No,
ended?
no. I got out in 71.
Okay.
What? And you was born in 72?
72. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got out in 71, and
then you
Virginia
ended up.
told me she was pregnant with you
Okay.
shortly after I got out, and I moved back. I was back in Eureka.
But then at some point ended up in Colorado.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard this.
I lived around there for a while.
Like the Denver area or a different part?
No, I was in Trinidad.
Remind me what
Which
part?
the very south part. I think I was
Straight south of
15
Denver?
miles from the New Mexico border.
Oh, okay. I've driven by the area because I recognize the name. I'm sure
Yeah.
I've seen the sign off the freeway.
But I went back to Eureka. Was there for a year or two. Then when your mom and dad moved to Vancouver, I came up there and went to work with Alcoa for a while. I was up here for about 8-9 months.
Okay.
Then I went back to Eureka.
Because your mom
and
was
Carl
still there.
got out of prison about that time. And
Oh, that
me
must
and
have-
Carl went back to Colorado.
Okay, together.
Yeah, and then I turned into a mess, and I left Colorado and came back out. That was, and Mother had already moved up to Medford,
Oh,
and the old house was just sitting there empty. And then I moved out, and she moved up to Blundell Road, bought that trailer because she had sold the house down there.
and is that why we had to make the trip back down?
That's why we went
when
back
she
down
sold the house.
to clear out the house.
Oh, okay, so she still owned
She
it.
sold
but
out the house because that was while the freeway was still coming through,
okay.
and the freeway condemned the house.
And and did she I'm assuming Opal and Dale were in Medford at that point.
Yeah, right.
And is that kind of what the impetus was for her to go to Medford?
Yeah, right. She was staying in one of the apartments they had.
Oh, okay. And then ended up deciding to go up
Yeah,
to
and then
Blundell Road,
yeah,
bought the
she wanted to
trailer.
move up there and
Okay.
be around me in Virginia.
Okay. Because you said you were working at Alcoa for a while,
Yeah.
and then at some point, once Ada got moved up there proper, you also that's when you just were like, I'm just staying here, and is that where you
Oh
ended
no, I
up?
was working at Alcoa, and then I left and went back and was living in Eureka. And
Okay.
she was still down there then
Okay.
for another year or so, and then I moved to Colorado. And while I was back in Colorado, she moved up to Medford.
That's right. You and Carl went to Colorado, but then that went sideways.
Yeah.
You moved and you went back.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at some point ended back up here when she moved up.
No, I came up here before she did.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I was up here for 2 or 3 months before she moved back up.
It was that the connection with Johnson Control, the job?
No,
or-
that was. No, I was trying to do all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, for a
Uh,
while you were doing the real estate. Not
Yeah, I
real
was
estate. You were
trying
doing
that.
but also the income tax thing. Weren't you doing both?
No, I didn't do the income tax thing until much later.
It was real estate.
No, I was trying to sell a couple things, and I was trying to sell real estate, and I was going to school. I used my
That's right.
GI Bill up at Clackamas Community College.
Okay, because didn't you have an office in Canby by what is now the Safeway, but it used to be it wasn't a Thriftway. It used to be something
No,
different.
no.
A Ross IGA. Remember where that was?
Yeah. No.
Didn't you have an office, or was
I
that just when you were doing
the real
taxes?
estate office I was working in down there was in Aurora.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the place you were doing taxes seasonally. Wasn't
No, I never did working down there in taxes.
I feel like you had a place
The
you
only
worked-
I started doing taxes just my own, and I took it because I was kind of interested in it.
Yeah.
But I never got a license to do it until after I was working for Johnson Controls,
Okay, that makes sense.
and I started doing taxes actually while I was on strike at Johnson Controls,
Okay.
and then I did 2 or 3 tax seasons, and that was about
But
it.
but were you doing it like just independently, or were you working for
Oh no, you had to work for somebody else.
And was that what I'm thinking of? Is the person you were working for had an office by that Ross IGA?
No,
It was kind
the
of by
only
the high
people
school.
I worked for doing taxes was Jackson Hewitt, and that was in Montgomery Ward stores.
Oh, okay.
One was over in Beaverton, and one was up at the
There was one in Oregon
Clackamas
City
Town
up
Center.
here. Wasn't
And
there
I worked
awards?
one up at Lloyd Center.
Okay. I don't know why I have that memory of you at an office, right? And there used to be a small Rexall drug right there by the Ross IGA. So I feel like I have a memory of you having an office there, but
Mhm.
or going to work at an office there, like in a with a sport coat and
Yeah.
slacks and stuff. I mean, I was
No.
young. I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's weird. Okay,
Yeah,
but so what year did you start at Johnson Control?
that was in the very end of 1980.
Oh, okay. I thought it was even earlier than that.
No,
Okay.
no.
Was that a referral? Somebody recommended it to you, or you just
no?
you heard they were hiring?
No, I was working for the Gage Industries over there, that plastic company, and they was changing things around, and I was still going to school at the time. And some of the changes they was making, I wasn't going to stay there and do that
Okay.
because it was going to interfere with my classes.
Yeah.
So basically, I quit there, and I drew unemployment. And about the time my unemployment was getting low, I decided I better go get a job somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to the unemployment office, which was here in Oregon City, you know,
Yep.
and they had a posting for Johnson Controls.
Okay.
I know Johnson Controls. No, they didn't. I went to Johnson Controls just to put an application in.
Okay.
And they said they didn't take application. They only took referrals from the unemployment office.
Oh, so you had to
So
go
I came back
through-
up to the unemployment office,
Okay.
talked to the veterans counselor. He sent me down with a referral, and I went to work down there.
They hired you that quick.
Yeah.
That's cool. And it was
At that time they was hiring just about anybody.
they just needed bodies.
Hey, they'd hire 10 people, and there's lucky if 2 of them was still there by a week later.
Oh, I was gonna say they were desperate. It
Yeah.
it wasn't a good talent pool they were drawing from.
No, they didn't care. He hired me because I was at Gage Industry. I was listed as a machine operator,
Okay.
and they needed machine operators still.
Okay. To like operating the machines that literally are building the batteries, or
Yeah,
okay.
or parts of it depends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you had the series of different machines that build.
Yeah, I'm
different
assuming
parts.
it was like an assembly
Yeah,
line
kind of,
procedure,
yeah,
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so
But since you're dealing with a lot of chemicals and lead, I'm assuming even back then in the 80s, was it as automated as it could be, where you didn't have to put your hands on it?
no,
There was
no,
a lot of
not
hands
really.
on.
No, it was kind of no, no. That was you did have to. You had lead standards, and you had to wear gloves.
Any kind
Anywhere of the plant.
protective mask?
It depends on your blood level.
They would
If
test
your
you
blood
regularly.
level, you had to get tested every month.
Oh.
If your blood level got high enough, you had to wear a respirator.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And that kind of depends on what area of the plant you was in.
And if you're wearing a respirator, did they on the production floor, did they keep it air conditioned so you weren't sweating
there
like?
was no air conditioning.
Oh God, with a mask on all day.
There was no air conditioning in that plant.
that
That
would
plant
get so hot.
stayed about 10 to 15 degrees hotter inside than it was outside.
Oh, so on summer days when it's 85 or 90, you're over 100 in there.
Oh yeah, you was
Oh.
probably hitting 100.
And then if you have to wear a respirator,
Oh yeah, you sweated a lot.
oh
Yeah.
God,
Yeah, no, it was. That's why nobody really stayed around there very much.
because it was a labor
it was
intensive.
a lousy job, you know.
Yeah,
It was a real pain in the ass.
but I'm assuming it was a union job, so the
Yeah,
pay
it
the
was
pay
a
was
union job, and the pay was
pay
decent.
was decent. You have benefits.
And I stayed there simply because it paid better than anywhere else I could go.
Yeah, and you knew you'd have a retirement.
Well, eventually. I just stayed there because got hired at the end of 80. 81, 82 was when Reagan came in. We had a recession.
Oh, there was that
a big recession for a while.
Yes.
And by the time the recession was over, I had 5 years in.
So you're
And
like,
I was actually starting to get vacation.
which is nice.
Yeah. And
Paid
the
vacation.
pay was it still paid good. I
Yeah.
was getting used to the place, so I just ended
Well,
up
and
staying.
after 5 years in, did you start to get to the point with seniority where you could start picking where you wanted to work
No.
and pick your shifts or anything, or was there people there that had been there for longer?
I don't think I ever got to the point where I could really pick my shifts.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after 20 years?
Hey, I hurt my hand just before I retired,
Okay. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
and I was working graveyard because I didn't have enough seniority to get the swing shift where I wanted to be, or day shift.
Even at the end, your last few years there,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
right. I didn't
thought
have
you
enough
I thought by
seniority.
then you preferred graveyard. You just but
No,
you-
I didn't have enough seniority.
so there were people there that had been there longer
Well, I
than
was
you.
welding, and just about everybody in the welding section had seniority on me.
So they'd been there for 40 plus years?
Well, they'd been there over longer than I had.
Well, cuz by then
There's 2 or 3 of them that was, 6 months to a year on seniority on me.
so you started in 80. How many
Yeah.
years did you put in there then? 30
30.
something? Oh,
30.
30 even.
Just a little over.
Okay, and there were people there that had been there 35 or 36
Oh, yeah.
years. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Wow.
But that was the people in the job description I was in.
Okay. And so that's why you couldn't get a pick
And
of
I
shifts.
couldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh. And you said you were in the welding. You were doing welding. Is that
We called it a
automated, or
welding.
are you
No.
hand welding?
they called it a welder.
Okay.
A welder, there was a machine. Okay, the COS put the plates together and a strap on them and dropped them in the container.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went to
The actual, what is the exterior battery container that you see?
and it went to the welder,
Okay.
which had jaws that came down and welded the groups together.
Just like spot welding kind of a thing? Or
Well, yeah, you had you got a strap here, comes up to the wall in between the groups,
Okay.
and it comes down and squeezes them together and weld them.
Okay.
Just, it was electric welder. It was
Right,
spot welder.
right.
Welded them. Then it goes out of that machine, and it went into the heat seal,
Okay.
which basically melted and put a cover on the battery.
Okay.
And
But
from that, it went to the post borer, which burnt the post to where you had a finished battery that was dry, and it came out around.
but
And I ran those 3 machines.
the casing, the exterior of a battery is all plastic. How is it not getting melted with all this?
You
know
have
what
a
I mean?
heat platen, and the case came up and hit here, and the cover was here, came down there, and then they spread, it came out apart, and they shoved them together. And while they were still melted, shoved them together, and they welded themselves together.
Oh, okay. But then the actual top plastic part of the battery is like the last thing that goes on?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because when you're doing all this welding, I'm like, you're just going to melt the exterior of the battery,
Yeah.
it seems like. But
Well, then
it's very precise, I guess.
pretty much, yeah. And then it goes the post borer, which melted the post.
Because the
'Cause
post.
you'd have a post coming up through a grommet.
Oh, and by the way, the
And it would
positive
come-
and negative posts, they run all the way to the bottom of the battery?
No,
How far down do they go?
they go to there's a strap there
Mm-hmm.
that all your lead plates
Are connected to.
are connected to and fused into.
Okay.
And the post comes out of that
Okay.
and goes up. And then it goes from that strap to the next cell, which has a strap on it. And
Okay.
they go together.
And then at what point is the acid added to it?
that's after I was done with it.
Oh, because a lot of them will have
It would
the,
go
the
to the
caps
forming
you can,
room,
The
which-
caps you can pull off. Is that
yeah,
how they add
go
it?
to the forming room, and that's where they used to pour posts over there, but they stopped the last few years. They just put them on, they'd fill them full of acid, and put it in the forming room, which was basically just a big, massive charge. It's because they had to charge, once you put acid in it, you had to be charged.
Quickly.
I think within 4 hours you had to start it, or else it started sulfating and ruining the battery. So you
Really?
didn't have much time. You
So if
charge it, form it out, and then they'd take it out and put it
So
in
once you add
storage.
the acid, if you don't charge it fast enough, the acid will just ruin the interior of the battery, kind of a thing.
Yeah, your plates will,
Start dissolving.
no, they, sulfate, it's the lead oxide on them, which is normally kind of a black or, well, when it's dry, it's gray, but then it turns black when you get acid in it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll turn white.
Okay.
And if they turn white, they won't conduct electricity.
Oh. Okay.
So you got to put the charge in them to keep them where they work.
And is this how batteries eventually go bad, where they just won't hold a charge anymore?
No, they go bad because of you got this little lead grid, and they paste it full of lead oxide.
Okay.
And the lead oxide's what's really holding all the electricity, and it's going back and forth between.
Okay.
The more you use the battery, the more that lead oxide flakes off of the grid. And sooner or
Oh.
later, all that ends up in the
At the
bottom of the
bottom.
battery.
Okay.
And you get enough in the bottom of the battery, it'll short out the group.
Okay.
Or if you get enough down there, and you don't have any more left on the grid, it ain't going to have anything to work. So
Okay.
it's that falls off.
And then the what I've always heard, like there's a reason that batteries, it'll ruin a battery. Like if you have it in a car that you let set for 2 months, batteries need to be charged.
Yeah.
At least automotive batteries. But then you have marine batteries, which are deep cycle, which from what I've been told, they don't have to be. It's okay if they don't have to be charged as often. Is that
they're basically the same thing.
but is there something
The
different about
difference
them?
between a deep cycle is There's a little difference on the way they mix the paste
Okay.
together. It's a slightly different formula, and it's got a bigger, heavier plate, but it don't have as many plates.
Okay.
But it's a thicker, heavier plate, and consequently, if you're going to use it, you can discharge it down, and the oxide won't fall off quite as fast.
Okay.
So
That's why they work.
normally you can, on a deep cycle, you can discharge them down to where they're totally discharged
Mm-hmm.
about 50 times before you ruin the battery.
Whereas with an
On
automotive
a car
battery,
5 or 6 times it'll normally go away.
really that
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to not let a car set. And if it's
well,
going
not,
to,
no, don't let it go totally discharged.
and if you're gonna let it set, disconnect the cables. Does
yeah,
that help?
That would work. Yeah.
Okay.
But normally you're still talking on a car battery, it's 6 months or so.
It'll
Or
take that
longer.
long to
Oh, yeah.
discharge?
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise
Wow.
me. It takes a year to discharge it.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay.
now, newer cars is a little different because all your newer cars, they're drawing, that computer is drawing a little bit of juice all the time,
oh, even when it's parked.
even when it's
yes.
parked and turned off.
So it'll
So,
drain
you know,
faster.
a month or two and you could be in problem.
Okay. And I am.
That's because
I
it's
hope
just being discharged.
I hope this isn't annoying you, but
Yeah.
but obviously since I've been working at Costco and we sell batteries, and
Yeah.
I get so many questions, and I'm like, I'm interested in this
Right,
stuff to
yeah.
understand how they work. And I know, were you guys? I don't know how long AGM batteries have been around. Were you guys making AGM batteries, or
AGM.
so I don't know if this is a new thing.
Uh,
It stands for absorbed glass mat,
Oh, okay.
and
We never did make them in this plant down there.
so speaking of newer cars,
That used to be called the gel cell.
okay,
And it was a different plant that made them. We never had the equipment to
it was
make
still
'em.
Johnson Control, but not
Yeah.
not in Canby.
Yeah, but not in Canby.
Okay.
And yeah, those are kind of strange. From what they use, they bought out a company that was making those,
Oh, Johnson Control bought them
Yeah.
out. Okay.
and then they started making them. But it was a different plant, you know, and it seems like the guys over in shipping said, if you got a bunch of batteries in, if they were good, they were great.
Okay.
But if they weren't, they didn't last worth a shit.
The AGM ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, and I'm in hopes, I would imagine by now they'll work better.
So what
But
the
they
way
were-
when we started selling them just a couple years ago, the training, a little bit of training we got on them was that they are designed for the newer cars that have a ton of extra electronics on board, and they put a higher demand on the battery. So newer cars, some of them are coming stock with AGM battery. Now they're a lot more expensive,
Yeah.
but they're supposed to stand up to the increased demand better than a standard battery is what I've been told, but I don't know the details. So people ask all the time, and I'm like, if your car
I
came
don't know
with
the
it,
details
then
on those either.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't even know.
I
what
don't really believe it. Tell you the
I don't know
truth.
what the absorbed glass mat is. Is there a layer of crushed up glass at the bottom of it? Of the battery?
No, I think it's. I'm not real sure, but I believe in. Okay. You have a lead grid
Yes.
built in, and you put paste on it
Okay.
to make the battery, right?
Right.
I think what they're doing is it's a fiberglass that they're putting the paste on, and it's spun in.
Oh.
You know, it's just instead of a lead grid, it's being put onto a fiberglass, and I don't know that it's just flat up and down like this. It may be just a roll
Oh. Okay.
with with a separator in between each
Okay.
round of the roll going around,
Okay.
and I don't know how that would work.
But theoretically, it's
Yeah.
supposed to. It's supposed to.
But I think instead of using, I think they're using fiberglass in there to make the plates instead of.
They're still using lead, right?
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're still using lead oxide,
Okay.
but they're using fiberglass and they're probably not using sulfuric acid
Okay.
in a liquid form.
Okay.
The gel cells use sulfuric acid, but it was a gel in there instead of just a liquid. And they started using those for different things where, so you wouldn't have acid spilling.
Okay.
But it didn't, like I said, we never made them, and I'm not sure
And
exactly what all it is with those.
then going back to just the standard automotive battery or whatever, what gives it the charge is the chemical reaction between the acid and the lead. Is that correct? Is that how it works?
Yeah, kind of.
But you said you have to
You've
charge
got
it up.
electrons, and I don't remember which, but you got the electrons in like the positive plate,
Mm-hmm.
and as they're discharged, they move over to the negative plate.
Okay.
When you charge it back up, they move from the negative plate to the positive plate.
Oh,
And so then it discharges and it goes back the other way.
that's why you need it. Oh,
So,
as
and
as
the
long as
acid
you
is just the medium to let it go from one plate to the other.
so as you're using the battery, the electrons are moving.
Right, are
being-
moving. Yeah.
And then in order to put them back and give it a charge again, that's why you need an alternator.
Yeah, and it puts
Oh.
the alternator just puts the charge in the other direction.
And it pushes it back the other
It
way.
pushes them back the other way.
Okay.
And
Wow. And this is obviously science that's been around for
A
I don't
long
know.
time,
I mean,
yeah.
I was going to say, who do you know? You might know this. I don't. Is it part of your orientation when you got a job at Johnson? Did they tell you the origins of the battery and how
No.
long it's been around?
No, they didn't tell you.
Because
shit.
I'm assuming a battery was
Yeah.
invented over 100 years ago. I'm thinking, but I
Oh,
don't.
well
I don't
over.
know.
I don't know for sure when.
See, I don't know if
Oh.
that was a 20th century invention or the 19th
I
century.
think it was a 19th century invention. I'm not sure that they didn't know about it before that,
so
but they didn't have any use for it.
when Ford invented the car, theoretically, we're talking 19.
Was 03? Was
Oh,
their first
03.
one?
When the first car was invented, the first time they put headlights on a car, was it electrical or were they just candles that were sealed? And or you know what I mean? Or at some point, in order to have
On
an electric,
Ford, I would imagine they would have been electrical.
at some point to have an electric light on a car,
Yeah.
you had to have a battery, right?
No.
Or just
No, you didn't.
Just a
because
generator.
Just like your Model Ts,
yeah,
they didn't have a generator either. But you did the hand crank to start them.
right.
Well, they had a magneto. And the magneto would kick out the spark and stuff to make the engine run.
Okay,
And so you use the hand crank to turn it over.
right.
And when you turned over, it'd make the magneto kick out the spark.
So then what?
So it didn't have any battery.
But what powered the headlights then?
With a magneto, you can take electricity off it when it's running.
Oh, so once you get the engine
The
started,
magneto is kind of like a generator, but it's not really a generator. And I don't know
Okay.
enough about it to know what it is.
but once the engine was running, the magneto would provide power to the headlights.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's
okay.
just like your off-road bikes that you kick.
like dirt bikes,
Yeah,
motorcycles.
your old dirt bikes and
Yeah.
stuff. Not all of them had a battery in it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like your lawnmower. You don't have a battery in it.
Oh, you're right.
You just start it and runs. It's got a magneto that runs. You got power coming off of it.
Oh, yeah. I'd never thought about that. You're right. Small lawnmowers, if they're
Small
not running,
lawnmowers,
they don't have a battery.
chainsaws, anything you're like that. Your
Oh.
power washers, none of them have a battery.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh my gosh, because yeah, and that's why you have to pull.
Yeah,
You have a
that's why you
drawstring.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I
And
never
your
would've
old
put
Model
that together.
Ts were like that. I don't think they had a battery.
Oh my gosh.
I don't
okay.
know that for sure, but I don't think they had a battery.
Wow.
But it's just like some of your dirt bikes and stuff. When you're running, you're fine. You got a headlight, but it goes off if it stops and dies.
I was just looking. Kristen texted me. I guess she said she sent some links to the menus, but she said the two ladies that she knows that own the Hive, I guess, are not going to be there tonight. So she had also been looking at another pizza spot downtown, La Famiglia Pizza. It looks like a nice wood-fired place. She said if you prefer that, we can go there, or the Hive. So if you have a preference,
I don't care.
let's
Hive's fine with
let's
me.
stick it to the Hive. That's what I
Yeah.
told Cheryl and Francis.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, so yeah, I don't want to go. Well, we have a little time. I want to talk about your hunting. Because I always, when you started getting paid vacation, that was
Mhm.
nice. You can go on hunting
Then I
trips.
could go hunting.
Did
yeah.
you start as a rifle hunter and then get
Yes.
into bow hunting?
Yeah.
And did you start? Did you grow up hunting with Frank take you hunting, or when did you get
Yeah.
into it?
I went hunting with Daddy a few times.
Rifle hunting?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how old were you like when you killed your first deer or
Mm.
whatever?
Oh, I killed my first deer after I got up here. I was a lousy hunter. Still am. Always
So
was.
you went hunting a lot, but you didn't
Yeah.
necessarily get
Didn't
anything.
get anything.
That's
Daddy
not what it's
didn't
about
have any
anyway.
luck hunting either.
Isn't it just about being out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your first deer was a rifle shot, though.
Yeah. Mm.
Somewhere out in Oregon.
Crown's land down here.
Where at?
Crown's old land. Out of
Oh,
the other side of
Crown
Malala.
Zellerback.
Yeah. Remember that big area they had down there? Yeah.
That
it was on
the
Crown's
first.
land. Yeah.
Okay, and so this would have been in the 80s?
Yeah.
Were you out with friends, by yourself?
Actually, that day I was out by myself.
But by then, even though you hadn't shot your own, you already knew how to skin a deer and clean it and all
I
that.
had been kind of told what to do.
So the first time you got a kill, you were by
the first
yourself.
time I
Did
got
you
a
have
kill,
to
I
figure
was
it
by
out?
myself.
And you had to figure it out.
Yeah. Not exactly. I shot that deer, and then I cut its throat, and I tried gutting it, and then I threw it in the trunk, and I came back into town, and I went over to Wes Stevenson's.
I don't
Wes
know.
Jones' dad.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wes. Yes.
I went over there and told him I'd got it, and he came out and looked at it and told me what else I needed to do.
So he was an experienced
Yeah.
hunter. Okay.
Yeah, and because I'd gotten most of the guts out, but I hadn't got to the chest cavity. I
Okay.
didn't even know. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And he's told me what to do, and I finished it up there.
Okay.
And then he showed me how to skin it.
Okay. And that was the first one.
That was
Now,
the
is
first
this
one.
where you're? And then after doing all that, skinning it, gutting it, did you have to do I don't know what they call it, but you hang them for a while?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't know
you
what is that to
normally
drain
hang
the
'em.
blood?
No. You clean them out and you hang them, and you hang them basically to let them cool down and let all the body heat go out of
Oh,
them.
right, because it's a fresh kill. The body's
Yeah.
still warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let the body heat go out of them, and then some people let them hang for a day or two.
Okay.
You can let them go for a while.
And it
They'll
won't
start
spoil.
spoiling. They will after a
Eventually.
day or two, but
Okay.
you know. But you can, depending on how hot it is and stuff, out too.
Oh, right.
If you let them hang, it's just like they're hanging beef in a beef
Yeah.
locker
Yeah.
to let them season in
Okay.
and they get tenderer. But mainly it's the first thing is to let the heat go out of it.
And then it's, at some point, I'm assuming you're taking it to a butcher, or are you
Or
doing
you
that
cut
yourself?
It up yourself, either
You
way.
can cut it and make your own steaks if you know how to do it. I guess.
That first one, me and your mom cut it up in your house there on Blundell Road.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that I maybe have a vague memory of that. But did you do it out in the shop?
No, we did it on the kitchen table.
That was a small trailer. That table wasn't that big. Oh
You
my
know, it
gosh.
wasn't that big a deer either.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. And then, so when did you get into the bow hunting thing?
Oh, it was a few years after that.
Had a friend that was doing it and you got inspired, or
Oh, Wes was been in archery for years,
Oh, okay.
and Joan went out with me rifle hunting a year or two, but she don't like rifles. She don't like guns.
Okay.
Uh, she just don't like the noise.
Right.
And after, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of rifle hunting, I was out on the Crown's land. Went out first thing in the morning, and popped this one knob that I like to hunt. Got out, and Joan was on one side, and I was on the other side, and I walked around to see if I could shove anything out in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just sitting up there on that, and there's nothing there, so I went on down the hill to another road and back to the road that I drove in and back around the other way, back to the car.
Okay.
Well, when I went down, hit that road, and started walking the road to come back up to the car, which was, I don't know, it was a half a mile or better.
Okay.
Every stump, just about, I'm sure at least every 50 yards, there's another hunter sitting there all the way back.
Oh.
And I looked at that and says, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I dropped rifle and went to bow hunting.
Okay. And
it
you had
just-
Wes to kind of help you get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you start with a compound bow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously you had to practice. I mean, there's a learning curve on
Yeah,
that.
there's a learning curve.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's a totally different way of sighting than a rifle, isn't it? I mean, I know you're still.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different.
But you also have to. I mean, you have to learn how to release the arrow. It's a totally
it's
different
just
technique.
some practice,
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah.
And you obviously
just
have to
different.
you have to
And-
be closer too.
You got to be a lot closer.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because anything over
50 yards.
50 yards is a long shot.
So we're talking 25, 30 yards.
Anything over 40 yards is really pushing.
God,
for
you got to
me.
be able to get close.
Yeah.
Or do you set up a stand and wait for them to come to you?
Well, either way, any way you can.
Because if you're moving, they're going to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Ground blinds work good. Tree stands work good. Wow. And you set up in a place, and if you're any good at it, a lot of times you can call them into you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's...
Yeah.
And was it over the years, too? At some points, when you were talking about going out to Crown, I'm assuming those were day trips, but you also would take vacation and go out Eastern
Oh, yeah.
Oregon? Or was it Camp Sherman? Were you hunting over there?
Yeah. Well, it's still over there somewhat. That used to be fun.
Is it just getting too crowded?
It's changed. At that time, there wasn't that many people over there. Most of the people you ran into was loggers or just horse people riding horses.
Okay.
And there was deer everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everywhere.
So it wasn't hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I was always taking too long a shot. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but, that was all right. But there was literally, you go out in the morning hunt. Yeah, come back in about 10 o'clock or so. In the meantime, you'd saw, at least 20 to 30 deer,
Wow.
at least.
Oh, my gosh.
Now you go over there, you can spend all morning long, and you're lucky if you see more than 3 or 4.
So have they just been hunted out? Or is there so many
Well,
more people that they're scared to come out?
There was a lot of changes. There's a lot more hunters for years. Not that many hunters now. The fires have all went through.
Oh, yeah.
Then they did things like they changed the law to where there's no real effective way to hunt bear or cougar.
Effective because the restrictions.
Well, you
as
can't
far
use bait. You can't use dogs.
Oh, is it because they're also becoming
Because
endangered?
they passed a law that said no, you can't use them.
Right, but was the point of that because they thought there wasn't enough of them?
Because the anti-hunting people put a ballot on the measure and said, "Oh, it's all inhumane. You're writing the
right.
poor animals down with dogs.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You're tricking them into." Consequently,
Yeah.
the bear population and the cougar population has exploded.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to get on. I don't want to go into political stuff, but I know it's funny
just exploded, and they're not there.
It's so funny that the same people that get these kind of laws passed they don't mind at all to go to the store and buy their chicken and whatever. But I mean the factory farming of
Yeah.
these animals. I'm like, you don't have a problem with that,
Well, yeah, it's just
which those conditions are horrendous
yeah.
if you care
well,
about animals.
You got some problems with that because you got to keep a balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Dan, he used to go hunting over the Starkey unit, I think it was. Anyhow, he always went hunting over there. He was mostly looking for elk,
Okay.
but he took several deer out of there too.
Yeah.
And Larry used to go to the same place, and it's been a few years now. But like I say, you don't go deer hunting over there anymore because there isn't any deer.
Yeah.
The cougars pretty much have taken them out.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that, but
And,
you're right. The cougar population's exploding. They're a
Eve-
predator.
Yeah,
So-
and even the elk population is starting to feel the stress.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, that one year Larry said he went over there and they didn't see any elk. And he ended up talking to the game warden over there. And he said he didn't know for sure how many cougars they had shot there. But I think he said when you hardly ever saw a cougar in that area,
Mm-hmm.
that year he had known of like 23 had been taken out.
Oh, geez.
And there was still more everywhere. The cougar population, without them being hunted, they just exploded.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's because that's a thing where Pam's cousin has that house at through the private side of Lake Billy Chinook.
Right, yeah.
I mean, now thank goodness for technology and everybody's communicated with a phone. But yeah, they have like websites for the people that live there. There's constant cougar sightings, and they'll report
Yeah.
it to warn everybody. You see cougars, which is kind of funny because I also something I did notice, since you can't hunt in there, you also see a lot of deer. Like you wake up almost every morning and
Yeah.
on her property you'd see deer because
Mhm.
they're not afraid. They can't be
Right,
shot there.
yeah.
But there's cougar sightings all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of unnerving.
Yeah. Well, like where I would go hunting out of Camp Sherman there,
Mhm.
it's not that far away from there.
Yeah, if you can there's a gravel
Yeah.
road you can take all the way to get to Three Rivers, I think.
We've seen cougar over there now too that you never saw before.
Yep.
Lots of bear sightings and stuff.
Wow.
And of course, after everything went through, after the fires and stuff in that area, the brush is so thick, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everything's changed a lot. It
Yeah.
just has.
Yep. Oh man. Okay, and because when you were later, were you able to you had the small trailer, the small
Mhm.
camp trailer, you were able to tow that over there
Oh, yeah.
and get it to a place you can. And are you just camping on like Forest Service BLM land? You're
Yeah.
not going to an actual campsite, obviously.
No,
Yeah.
no. There's a bunch of off Canyon Creek there. There's a bunch of campsites
Just little
where
clearings.
everybody, it's just open areas
Yeah.
that everybody's used for years and years.
So it's accessible to park a trailer there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you can get a. Oh, I thought of something else. Whether it's it probably isn't as much of a problem with bow hunting, but in your time rifle hunting, especially when you made the comment that as you were walking back to the car, just every 50
Yeah.
yards and another hunter. Have you had any close calls of somebody thinking you're a deer and taking a shot?
No, I haven't.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but you get that many people in the woods,
That's dangerous, right?
it makes you uncomfortable. At least me, it did.
Yeah.
But more than that, how the hell do you expect to see any deer?
Because
With
if
that
there's
many people in
that
the
many
woods,
humans around,
they're hiding or running to
'cause
the
they can
very
smell.
top of the mountains or in the
Yeah.
deepest, thickest brush by
Yeah.
the creek that you can find.
Yeah.
They're hiding.
Yeah. There's no point.
Yeah,
Because they have a lot better senses than we do, so
Oh,
they
yeah.
know you're there.
yeah. They,
And if there's that many,
with that many
humans-
people out there, they're hiding. You're not going to see them.
Oh man,
Like how many deer do you expect to see when you go walking through a park or something?
Yeah.
Not too many.
none. Too much human activity.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They'll hide somewhere during the day, and then they'll come out and do their feeding at night. And
Yeah.
See, when I first started hunting over there too, the deer were all out feeding during the day.
Okay.
Uh,
Not like at sunset?
no, they all day
Just all
long,
day.
just about. Yeah, because they would go literally in eastern Oregon or on the other side of the Cascades. They went all winter long and never saw another a human.
Right.
They didn't see that many during the summer even, and so they had no real fear about it. And when you got that many more people in there, it's changed.
Did you so you did do, because I know the process when you're drawing tags. You don't always get to choose where they give you one. So did you do some time?
No, you see, that was another thing. Up until the last 2 or 3 years, you didn't have to do that with bow hunting. You had general season tags. That was
Bow
just-
hunting,
yeah.
right? But bow hunting, there's not as much of a demand, so there's
Yeah,
more tags.
yeah,
but
but
with
the
rifle hunting, isn't it
rifle
kind of a
hunting,
lottery?
A few years ago, you had to go to that lottery.
Okay.
Now with bow hunting, you have to too.
Then
And so you put in a specific unit you want to hunt in.
and do you have like second and third choice?
Yeah, you have like 2 or 3 different choices.
So have you done hunting over in like
Yeah.
northeastern Oregon, the Malawas and all that outside
No,
of Baker City?
I just put in for the Metolius unit because I know that unit.
Oh, okay.
The
okay.
other ones I don't know,
Okay.
and I'm not that. It's a glorified camping trip now, anyhow. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah, I just
I mean, again, just being out there.
Yeah,
Even if you
that's
don't
it.
get a deer,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
incredibly relaxing.
yeah, I just yeah, it's just a different thing. It's not as much of a hunting trip as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, I don't know now. I mean, and if God forbid, if you get a deer or something, what if it's in a ravine? I mean, you got to pack that damn thing out of there. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, if it's too far there, I don't shoot it.
Yes.
Uh,
If it's going to be too much work,
10
to get
years
it out.
ago, I might have, but not
Right.
anymore. I can't pack them out no more.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just can't do it.
And you can. So can people still get cougar tags then? Is that a thing?
Sure.
But I'm assuming people that are hunting cougars, it's a trophy thing. You're not eating a cougar, right? It's just a trophy thing
I don't know.
to put it on your wall, the head at least, or stuff
yeah,
it. And like you were
I don't
saying,
know.
the population
might
is
be,
blowing
you
up,
know.
so there maybe needs to be some controls on it. So that
yeah, I'm not quite sure what they do with a cougar.
yeah, I'm guessing it's for the head on the wall or to stuff
Well,
it. you
Bear,
know.
people eat bear.
Well, I've heard of that, but
Yeah.
I've never heard of people eating a cougar. I don't even think
Well,
there's
you
that much
never
meat on
used
them.
to have people take that many cougars.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can eat a cougar or not.
I mean, they're pretty lean for the most part. There can't be a lot of meat on there. I mean, there's muscle, but it's not
Yeah.
like a bear or even a deer. Well, I guess deer are pretty lean too.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's enough meat there, but
I've never heard of somebody.
I don't know what it tastes like or whether it be. I'm assuming you ought to be able to eat it if it was
Yeah.
cooked properly.
Which that'd be better if you're going to shoot it. Then might as well. I mean, do something with it. So, Cheryl just texted me. They're actually in Gladstone, so I just told them to come here.
Oh,
'Cause it's a
okay.
little, so we can wrap it up. But again, this is for Oscar's birthday. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast. And it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. It's not an interview.
Yeah,
It's,
haven't got a
it's
whole
just
lot to say.
it's just
Anyhow, but
just a conversation.
close enough.
It's
yeah.
the same we would have been doing if we didn't have the mics on. That's what I
yeah,
tell
pretty
everybody.
much. Yeah.
But I do appreciate it because I've been working at this for the last whatever I started it, and I have noticed this is funny. For every 10 people I invite, I'm lucky to get one. It's
Oh, really?
actually
Yeah.
hard to book guests because a
Yeah.
lot of people. There's three things. They either say no, I'm not interested, or they say yeah, that might be cool, and then when I actually try to schedule them, never happens.
Hmm.
And then there's the small percentage that are excited about it, and then they actually say yes, and we book a date.
Yeah.
So yes, I do appreciate this. I think you're episode 24. I'm 24 in.
Oh, okay.
So yes, happy birthday once again. Let me shut it off.
Okay.
You can get that out of your face.
Sounds good.